Hello, welcome to week 4 of Scouting at Home. Today, our wolves are going to be doing an awful lot, and it's a good idea if you have something to write with and something to write on. You might want to take a few notes if you don't still have your notes that we've already done earlier this semester. First, let's start off by doing our opening ceremony. Here's a flag if you don't have one. If you've drawn your own flag and have it at home, that's perfectly fine. An American flag is still an American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. The Scout law in sign language. Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2. What we're going to be doing first is something that all of you have already done in your workbooks earlier this semester. But it's always a good idea to review things, so you want to be sure you don't forget what's important to keep you and your family and friends safe when you are outdoors. The most important thing that Cub Scouts always do is you always have a buddy. You are never alone. That's called the buddy system. And it's something that it doesn't have to be a friend. It just has to be someone you know, especially if you're at a camp out and you don't know a lot of the other kids and the other scouts. Meet someone new. Be their buddy. Make sure that they stay safe and they'll keep you safe. Now, there are 6 things called the Cub Scout 6 Essentials. There are many other things other than just 6 things that you may use. But these are the most important things that you always want to keep in mind. The first one is going to be your first aid kit. Now, if you are going on a walk with your leader or one of your parents or an older family member, if they have a first aid kit, that's fine. Those of you who've already made your first aid kits in your den meetings, take that with you. You never know when you might need it. The second one is, it says water bottle, but it just means water or something to drink. I have vitamin water because it's been really, really bad weather for allergies this year. And I know I'm going to have to be drinking from my water bottle during this den meeting, so I have mine with me. Now, if you have a water bottle, this might sound silly, but be sure that you have water in your water bottle. Fill it up before you leave so that you'll be ready. The third one is a flashlight. Same with the flashlight. Be sure your flashlight has new batteries in it and that your flashlight works. If you are going on a hike during the day, you might think you don't need a flashlight, but you might find something that's underneath a bush or around a tree or someplace that's dark, and you see a creature of some type. It might be an animal, it could be, usually it's a bug, could be a bird. You want that flashlight so that you can turn it on and see a lot better what that animal or bird is doing. Always have your flashlight. I know all of you do have those. The third one is trail food. Now, if you are going on a very short hike of 1 mile or less, you can probably do okay without taking your trail food. Trail food is just food you eat while you're walking. Usually it's pretzels, cereal, might be nuts if you're not allergic in any way to nuts. Usually raisins, pineapple bits, food that will give you energy while you're working and keep you going strong. Okay? Something you can eat while you're walking along. We all made those earlier this year, and I make my own at home with whatever I have. There's no wrong or right way to do it, as long as it's something you can have with you, that you can eat easily, and that isn't going to melt and make a mess. The next thing you want to think about, it has sun protection. Now, sun protection, most people think sunscreen or sun lotion. And sunscreen is very important. But if you don't have sunscreen, as long as you have a hat will protect your face and it will give you shelter from the sun. A hat is sun protection. It doesn't have to come in a bottle. If you're like me and you sunburn real easily, you want to be sure that you put your sunscreen on any place the sun is going to touch that's not covered. That means my arms and my face and my hands. I'm going to put it on there, make sure it's on for about half an hour before you go away. And you want to put more on every half hour or so if you've been out and gotten wet in a pool or splashed. If you sweated a whole bunch, you're going to want to reapply it. They come in small bottles, easy to carry on a trail hike. I've seen most of my scouts have these already, but check with your parents and see what they have. Whatever you use, that's the best thing to do. Now, the last one is a whistle. Now, we have been through the rules already about using a whistle. It is only to be used if you get separated from the rest of your pack or your buddy. Really, getting separated from your buddy should never happen. But if it ever did, you want to know what to do. You don't want to be afraid because you're a scout and you know what to do. It's so simple. All you have to remember is stop. S-T-O-P. Okay? The S stands for stay where you are. Because if you are lost, someone else, like your parents or the rest of your family or den or pack, is going to be looking for you. If you go wandering around in circles or go to a different place other than the trail that you're on, you're going to be harder to find. So you stop and you stay wherever you are. While you're staying there, use your wolf brain. Start thinking about what you're going to do. Where are you? Are you in a safe place? If you're not in a safe place, you want to get to a safe place. If it's starting to rain, you want to get under cover, perhaps inside a building, maybe if it's just a pavilion with a shelter roof over it, whatever. If it rains with me, I've got a hat on, and I'm mostly taken care of. But you want to think about what's around you and where you should be. You certainly don't want to be in the middle of a trail or a street or a road, but you want to be where people can see you, because someone is going to be looking for you. I guarantee you, if it's not other scouts, it's going to be your parents. This also counts if you are out shopping. It's happened before. Sometimes kids get lost in a store or a shopping mall. Stop is the same thing. You don't get more lost. You stay where you are and look around for help. a security guard or another store worker will be able to help you. If you keep wandering around trying to find your way out, you're just going to get more lost and you're going to be harder to find. Observe, that's just a big word for look. That means look around you. Look what is available to you where you are. You might want to see, is there a restroom? Is there a water fountain? Is there a road? Is there anything that you recognize before you got lost? Carefully look around you, and at the same time make sure that you are staying safe. Now the last one is plan. Hopefully you will never have to get used to that, and you'll never have to actually plan. But all plan means is that if nobody has found you, you want to decide what is the safest way for you to wait for someone to find you. That just means to get yourself under cover, make sure you're not out where you'll get rained on or anywhere near traffic. Keep yourself in a safe place because people are looking for you and you will be found. Now, when you are out on a hike, even a short one, you want to be dressed for the weather. That's different for us here in Texas. It's easy for us. We can usually wear shorts and a t-shirt. If you're in a colder climate, say if you lived in Colorado in the mountains, or if you lived in Canada, any of those places, you're not going to be wearing shorts and a t-shirt. You want to dress to be ready for whatever the weather is going to be. Now, the weather's not always what we think it's going to be, but always check before you think about going on a hike to be sure you're not going to get stuck in bad weather. Okay. Now, this is something I know that all of my wolves have already done. We did this during our Webelos walkabout adventure earlier this year. Last year actually, in October and November is when we did this. Okay, this is the outdoor code. Okay, this is something that you should say this with your parents or whoever you're walking with before you leave to go on your hike. Okay. It just says, as an American, I will do my best to be clean in my outdoor manners, to be careful with fire, to be courteous to other visitors, because parks, whether they're national parks or just community parks here in the Travis County area, a lot of people like to be outside and they like to be out in the parks. You have to be courteous and respect their area, and they will stay out of your area. You never want to make too much noise if people are trying to get ready to go to sleep. You sure don't want to be throwing or running through someone else's campsite, even if it's only another picnic table. They were there first, and it's theirs. Treat others the way you want to be treated. When you're doing that, everything works out better. You're happier, and that is what Scouts do, okay? They respect other people, especially in the outdoors. Now, our last one is be conservation-minded. That just means never ever throw trash, and I know none of you would. All of you Scouts know how important it is to keep things clean and picked up, not just for you, but for everyone around you. That is part of doing a good deed every day, something that you're not paid to do, but it's something you should do as a Scout. If you see trash, pick it up, even if it's not yours, and get it in a trash can. It also means that you don't want to put anything in our water supply, which is our lakes and our rivers here in the Texas area. You want to be sure that, some people dump not just trash, but they dump oil, they dump chemicals. I've even seen people dump empty paint cans into the river. And when you do that, that is contaminating not only the river, but also your water supply. Okay? None of that belongs in water. Okay? Always only in an appropriate trash can or disposal place for hazardous materials. That just means something harmful, like paint or bug spray. Any of that has no business being in our parks or in our rivers or lakes. And as a scout, it's up to you to keep that stuff out of your way and make everything stay clean for the next visitor. Do unto others. Okay? Leave wherever you go. We always leave where we walked or where we took a break and had a picnic. We're going to leave it cleaner than it was before we got there. Now this is something else that every Cub Scout should know. It's called the Leave No Trace Pledge. Okay? A pledge is just something like the Boy Scout oath. Okay? And on this, you are saying, as an American, on the outdoor code. Okay? That's how that one starts out. But on Leave No Trace, as an American and as a Scout, it counts the same way. Leave no trace is something very important to every Scout, no matter what your rank, from Lion and Tiger all the way through Eagle Scout. Okay? We leave places cleaner than when we got there so that no one even knows we were there. We don't leave trash. We don't leave food. First thing you want of the Leave No Trace Pledge is to plan, to know before you go. Don't just go off without planning where you're going. You want to decide where you're going to go, who you're going to go with, when you're going to leave, when you're going to come back, and make sure your parents or another adult knows all of this. That way, if you are not back when you're supposed to be, they're going to get someone, if not themselves, to go looking for you. This says to choose the right path. That just means you have already planned where you're going. Let's say you're going to go on a hike. You're on the trail that you decided to go on, and then you decided, oh, well, I see something over there. I want to go check that out. That's how people get lost. Don't get your paws off the path, okay? Go where you say you're going, and if you see something that you want to see better, the next time you go on a hike, do it that way. But you want to plan it before you go, is all this says, okay? This is the easiest one for every Scout. Trash your trash. Don't bring trash with you. If you do, carry it out with you. If you see trash that other people have left, pick it out and carry it to the closest trash bin. Okay? Number 4 is be careful with fire. And as Wolf Scouts, this is something that none of you should be using fire. You shouldn't be playing with fire. This is only for adults, and only 5th grade Wibelows with adult supervision are allowed to be in or near the fire. That means building the fire. I know that we learned as 2nd graders how to build a fire, but that's something we never do. Not until you are in the 5th grade with your parents or another adult. then you will be able to do it. Okay? Be careful with fire means other people have fire usually at campgrounds. So if you are playing with something, baseball, soccer, whatever, you are not going to be kicking or accidentally hitting any of that into their campsite or into their campfire. You do that, not only will it splash their fire around, which can start a fire, it can ruin your ball. You might not get your ball back, okay? And honestly, if you're outside in nature, you don't really need a ball. There's so much to see and do while you're out here. Stick with that. Now, number 5, I know every single wolf understands this, okay? Outdoors belongs outdoors, okay? We are visitors whenever we are outdoors, because the outdoors is where these birds live. It's where the squirrels live, the raccoons and the possums. A lot of dogs and cats live outdoors. But you want to be sure, especially, that you respect wildlife. Respecting wildlife means, even if it's a worm, even if it's only an ant, do not touch them, do not bother them, do not disturb them. Okay? You are in their house when you're outside. Okay? And what's outside doesn't have much business being indoors. You look, you observe, and you keep on going. Okay? You never, ever try and touch any type of wildlife or scare any other type of wildlife away. And it's just as important, never, ever feed wildlife. Even squirrels that are begging for food, even pigeons and grackles and crows that are picking up food off the ground, okay? Please don't give them food. A squirrel is made to eat nuts, acorns. Okay? They are not made to eat popcorn. They're not made to eat Takis, Doritos, any other kind of food. Their food is already in the outdoors, and you respect wildlife by not leaving trash that has food in it out there, because you've already packed it up and you have trashed your trash and any other trash near where your picnic site or your campsite is. Excuse me. You always want to be sure and have your water, because just now I was thirsty and I needed it. Now, if you forget to check your batteries or fill your water bottle before you leave on a hike, it'll probably be the last time. Because when you're out there and you're thirsty and you don't have your water bottle or your drink bottle, some people use the Camelback systems. Whatever type of hydration that you use, be sure that it's full before you leave. It's better for you to take too much than to not take enough. The last thing on here, we already know, is to be kind to other visitors, which, strangely enough, if you go back to the outdoor code, it's on there too. Okay. You might wonder why it's on there twice. That's okay. Be considerate in the outdoors. Being considerate to other people is exactly the same as being kind to other visitors. Being kind to other visitors means you're not going to bother them, and they are not going to bother you. Okay? Conservation-minded, remember, everything that we throw away, if it ends up in our streams, in our water, in our rivers or our lakes, okay, every single one of that is going to be put into the water that you drink out of, that comes out of your water faucet. So you be sure that you keep it that way. Conservation-minded also means if you see a big clump of grass and think, oh, well, it'd be fun to tear this up and plow it. That wouldn't be conservation-minded. Grass needs to be there not only so that it will grow, but it keeps the soil, the dirt, strong. Okay? If you are tearing up trees, that's not being conservation-minded. Even just pulling a few leaves off, don't do it. Because someone else might see you doing that, and guess what? They will do the same thing. Don't do it. Okay? Conservation-minded also includes keeping all of your supplies in a safe place and keep them together. If you're going on a short hike, that easy. It'll be in a small backpack. You won't even need it, okay? But you never, ever, ever hurt trees, chop a tree down, even if you really need firewood. You don't do it because trees need to be able to grow and be strong. Now, if your parents go to waterloodistrict.org, or even if you just Google DeAnna Scout, that's DeAnna SCOUT, okay? You do a search engine on that on their computer, and DeAnna Scout will come up. It will say that I'm a paraprofessional with Capital Area Council. That is me, okay? All of our summer lessons for wolves are going to be on that web page, and it also has links to our Waterloo District.org page, where our lessons for the summer already are. And there's a lot of neat information about just about everything on our Scout pages. And it's very interesting. You can see other Scouts doing things. If we've taken your pictures, you'll see yourself, either on my page or on the Waterloo District page. We want you to use those pages because they have a lot of information that is very helpful to help your parents make you be a good Scout. Just because you can't go to school right now doesn't mean Scouts haven't stopped. Every single bear, as long as they are following our internet, online, virtual scouting den meetings, you will advance in rank. A wolf will turn into a bear when they finish the 2nd grade. A bear will turn into a webelow when they finish the 3rd grade. And the same with 4th and 5th graders, okay? All of that information is on our website so that every single one of you can keep advancing and keep moving forward in Scouts for yourself and also for your entire den and your pack. Now, your job, other than learning all of this, one of the requirements for you to earn your wolf badge is to go on a 1-mile hike. 1 mile is not very far, but you still want to follow all of these rules, both the outdoor code and the leave no trace principles, okay? Even if you're only walking to the store where you always walk, okay? Keep your wolf ears open, keep your wolf eyes open, okay? You want to be aware of what's going on around you. Now, while you're on this 1-mile hike, your job, first of all, is find 2 things that you've never seen before. And you might think, oh, it's only a mile. That's not very far. I've seen everything in my neighborhood. or I've seen everything in that park. Use your wolf eyes. You will find things. Even me, I can look up at the sky and I see clouds that I've never seen before. There is no telling what you'll see as long as you keep your eyes open, keep your ears open while you're on your hike. Now, we had a lot of fun earlier this year, everyone drawing how to dress themselves to go on a hike. So everyone knows and understands how important socks and shoes are, and of course your hat. You want to make sure you remember that every single time you go on any hike, no matter how long or how short it is. After you have gone on your hike with an adult, family member, or your den, you need to talk about what you saw that you didn't know about. Let other people know. And something that all of us did, y'all do a lot of fantastic pictures and posters that you drew. While you're on this hike, keep your eyes open for 2 insects, 2 animals, and also 2 birds. And these are things that are going to be outside on your hike. Now, the animals that we see around Central Texas are usually going to be things like, hey, all of you have seen dogs and cats. Those are animals. Wild animals, such as squirrels. Everyone's seen squirrels. That is a wild animal. And you will see squirrels in Austin when you go on a hike just about anywhere. Because our squirrels know how to live in the city. And they don't have to just stay in the woods. They will come to where your house is and live around your house and your trees. That is outdoors. That is their world. 2 insects is really easy. This is Texas. We always know insects. We're going to see flies. We're going to see mosquitoes. Hey, we might see ladybugs. We might see moths. If you're lucky, you might get to see some killer butterflies. There are a lot of butterflies that are coming out right now and have been around for about the past month. Just about any field where you see wildflowers, you will see butterflies. You'll probably see hummingbirds. Keep those wolf eyes open and find 2 animals, 2 insects, and 2 birds. And birds can be as simple as the little tiny sparrows that are in the trees. Sometimes you'll see them on the ground. All of you know blackbirds, great big black birds. They're also called grackles. Those are birds. You should be able to see some of those if you're going on a 1-mile hike near where you live, because they're everywhere. Okay? Doves. There are a lot of doves in Central Texas. There are a lot of pigeons in Central Texas, especially downtown. There's pigeons. But when you finish your hike, you want to talk about what you saw, which 2 insects, birds, and animals that you saw while you were on your hike, because that means that you are keeping your eyes open and that you understand and know what the rules are for living the outdoor code and the leave no trace principle. You also want to talk with your family or your den as soon as you finish your hike about how you respected wildlife and the outdoors on the hike you went on. That can be something as simple as not stepping on a lot of grass. If there's a big clump of grass, rather than stomp on the grass, you walk around it. Okay? Another way that you can respect the outdoors is not to hurt anything that belongs to the outdoors. You never want to tear a branch or a limb off of a tree. We need those trees. Trees are kind of like air filters, only they're air filters for all the air outside here. Okay? When the wind moves and blows through the trees, that is cleaning our air and keeping it clean. The same goes for grass. If everyone keeps pulling grass up or building things on the grass, there's nowhere for the water to go. The water can't go down in the ground because there's a building on top of it, and there's so much water that there's no place for the water to go, and it floods our streets. That happens an awful lot in Central Texas, and that's why we want to preserve and be considerate of every green space in our community, because that is something that you're going to want to be showing to other scouts, and as you get older, show your own children or your little brothers and sisters. Okay. Now, we went over this with my scouts way back in October and November while we were getting ready to go on our Webelos walkabout. Another requirement, other than all these I went over with you, is that you need to draw a simple map, kind of like this one. Okay? You want to be sure that it shows north, south, east, and west. Okay? Because if you don't know what direction you're going, that's a real easy way to get lost and to not end up where you're supposed to be or where you want to be. I drew a real simple map. You can draw it however you want to. I drew a map of my house, the street that I live on. If I go on my street and I go down here, you see these little quotation marks, the two little dashes? The space between those two dashes is 1 mile. So when you look at this, you leave my house, and I go this way, and I turn in here, I've gone 2 miles. Okay? Now, I am going to Decker Lake, or Lake Walter E. Long. It used to be Decker Lake because it's off of Decker Lane, but they renamed it after Mr. Long. You can call it whatever you want to. It's a pretty cool lake. Okay? There's a lot of wildlife and a lot of hiking. When you draw your map, I'm showing the road that you go down to. Okay? This is Decker Lane. This is Loyola. This is Decker Lake Road. Okay? As you go down the street and I pull into the park, and I put on here what I have. I wrote down park, cars, that means where you park your cars, okay? Restrooms, picnic tables, the lake itself, okay? The streets, and the distances, along with north, south, west, and east, okay? That way, you can be making up your own maps, and even if you don't go drawing a map before you're going on your hike, you can make a map of your own house. You can make a map of your very own room that you live in. But the important thing is to measure how far. Now, if you live in your own room and you're making a map of your room, you're not going to go a few miles. You'll do it by how many steps or how many feet it is to go from the door to your room to a window that's in your room, or from the door of your room to your closet or your bed, or where you keep your toys and games. If you have a desk, how far is it to your desk? But what you do is you decide, now this I did by colors, and I'm colorblind, so I might have put the wrong colors. I thought I did a pretty good job at guessing, but I might not have. That doesn't really matter. If you see this, you're going to know that that is actually the Lake Long. Okay? If you see this, that is where there are public restrooms. And you can see there's some right there. I put on here tables, okay? Because there, right there, are some picnic tables. And these can also be campsites, but just a place to be. Those are your tables. There's more tables there closer. Anything that's colored in green is the park itself, and the boundary, the edges of the park that I drew around, okay? Everything that is inside here is all a part of the park, including the lake itself, while you're doing that. I am so very proud of every single one of my wolves, and every wolf that watches this. This is going to be a fun adventure. Please be sure that your grown-ups know. I think I even wrote it down on here, okay? If you do an engine web search on Google, whatever search engine you use, and punch in DeAnna Scout, okay? One of the first things that's going to pull up is my Facebook web page for scouting, okay? It will say, you'll see a little tiny picture of me, and it will say Capital Area Council, because that is where I work, okay? Click on that, and it will take you directly to every summer adventure that there is, okay? The same as WaterlooDistrict.org has all this information on it, and even more, a huge amount of information, not just about what's going on with Scouts here in the Austin, Texas area, but Scouts all over the United States and the world. Remember, your requirements for this week to earn your wolf badge, and I know many of you have probably already done some of these. It never hurts to do them again. We have a special time in the year 2020 when we are all having to stay at home and be safe to take care of other people and not get them sick, and also to not get you or your family sick. Your first requirement is going to be to know what the Cub Scout 6 essentials are. All of this is on there. Stop, S-T-O-P, stay, think, observe, and look, okay? That is something that you want to keep in your mind, okay? The more you hear these things, the easier it is to stick and stay in your mind. The same as when you were learning the Scout Oath and the Scout Law. You did it over and over, or you wrote it down. You talked to other people about it. You said it out loud. You said it to yourself. The more often you do it, the better it sticks in your mind. So we want our wolves to do this during the summer on their own. Since many of you have already done a 1 mile hike, it wouldn't hurt to do one now, because everyone having to stay inside and at their homes, everyone is eating too much junk food. There might not be the food we usually eat when you go to the grocery store, but there's almost always ice cream. There's almost always chips. There's a lot of food that is not very good for you, but that's what you buy because that's what's there. It's important that we all stay healthy and strong by staying active. And there are jokes, grown-up people are joking about how fat everybody's getting because not being able to work and not being able to walk around as much. In a usual day for me, when regular school's happening, I walk about 40 miles every day. Without school, I'm walking maybe 2 at the most. However you do it, and working with your parents and the rest of your family, you want to stay strong, you want to keep active, and keep doing that. That is one of your requirements. Okay. Another requirement is to, as we already did, you want to recite or say the Leave No Trace principle and the outdoor code. Okay. If you don't have these, your parents can pull this up again to see this video and to see what it is. Even better, go to waterloodistrict.org and you'll be able to see all of this. I just use cardboard because that way I can use it and then I can recycle it. Your other requirement is to go on the 1 mile hike, find 2 things you've never noticed before, along with 2 insects, 2 birds, and 2 animals. Okay? While you're on this hike, talk about what you've seen. Some of you might not even have to go outside your backyard if you have a yard, or you might not even have to go off of your apartment complex property. Most of them have their own parks there also. That counts. And probably the hardest one for you, but this is a requirement, is to draw a simple map. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to have north on it so that you'll know which direction you're going. Okay. You need to have a legend. A legend is kind of like a book with chapters, and each chapter is one thing. A legend is just one word that tells you all of these symbols stand for something much bigger, like this stands for an entire lake that's a whole lot bigger than that. It's going to show you where the restrooms, the picnic tables are, where the park is. Be sure you have the distance on there, whether it's in feet, if you're doing a map of your home or your backyard or your outside area at your apartment complex. And it has to have the distance on it. Like I said, in between the 2 quotes. If it's in between the 2 little dots, that's 1 mile. 1 mile, 2 miles. Or in your house, might be 10 steps, 8 steps. I know that this is a lot of work and a lot to do all at once, but you can replay this and watch this as many times as you want to. And please be sure that you go to my Scout page, DeAnna Scout, like that page, and you will get information and updates on everything coming from the Waterloo District website. Thank everybody. Hope everyone has an even better week this week than he did last week. Please don't forget the most important Scout law that you can do to help your family and not just your family, but your community and your neighbors, is You want to be helpful. Helpful doesn't just mean helping other people, although that's something you should do. You want to help your family and help yourself by doing all of these requirements, by drawing your maps, by making sure that you locate the insects and the animals and the birds. Okay? You do all of this, email your cub master, let them know what you've done, and please have your parents send pictures either to my webpage or to WaterlooDistrict.org webpage. We want to see what you're doing, and that's how we know that you're staying on track, and it's a lot of fun. Thank you again, and we will see you next week. Have a great time, and don't forget, keep washing those hands. That is being helpful because that is keeping those germs from spreading. The more people that stay inside, the more people that wear their masks when they go near any other people, the faster everything can get back to the way it was before. It's probably going to be a long time. To me, it's already been a very, very long time. Okay? But every person who does their part by wearing their mask, washing their hands, isolating themselves with their families in their homes, everyone does that. We're all going to come out of this fine, and looking forward to getting to seeing you again when we are able to reopen. We do have a group chat over the Waterloo District.org web page where your parents can go and talk online with other leaders and parents. If you have any questions, we certainly hope you'll join us. We're looking forward to it. And everybody have a great week. Keep your paws on the path. Don't go off that path, because you stay on that path, you are getting your wolf badge, and that is your first step to being an Eagle Scout. Thank everybody, and have a great day.